recording, testing 1 2 3. Let's let people view this if anyone's looking remotely. We're recording. Allow. Okay, allow. We're sharing. Okay, recording. Power of wikis. Largest website in the world is a wiki. The idea is, for those not familiar with this concept, is, hey, you can get an account. You become an author. You can contribute meaningful information to it, and information builds upon itself. Concept is called time binding. That's a general semantics, the study of meaning concept, which says that humans have a unique ability to build upon former knowledge, former know-how. It's a very unique thing which allows humans to become the dominant species, to take over the world and destroy the rest of the environment at the same time. But time binding is the idea that information builds. Whatever we do right now is based on eons of knowledge and built-up experience that over time, in fact, circuits in our mind get wired for intelligence, and new things are coming. Our neurogenesis exists, the idea that we create brain cells throughout our life. Did you know that our brain actually keeps growing the entire life? That was discovered actually very recently. It was common knowledge, at some point brain cells go dead and you don't create anymore. No, you do. That process may slow down, but it's a lifetime skill set and lifetime process where you continue to develop your intelligence.
Unless you're indoctrinated by fear.
Perhaps, yes. Openness to learning is the key, and if you can do that, you continue to do that the whole life. Did you know that 98% of all children were born what is known as genius? There's a good TED talk on that, but at 4 to 5 years old, 98% are creative geniuses. By 31 years old, only 2% remain. You can actually watch a TED talk on this. There's been studies that have been done regarding this, but the idea is when we get indoctrinated, we stop our process of that innocent inquiry. We start believing things as they are reality, as opposed to that having that realm of possibility in front of us all the time, thinking anything is possible. You can watch more about this, but a NASA study has been done on this to show this. They actually tracked a group of children, like I think 1,000 children or so, over time. Now, what does divergent thinking mean? It's that creativity, the idea that no, it's not like. I mean, what is divergent thinking? Can anyone define divergent thinking? Nick?
Yeah, it's just non-linear, like non-traditional, just non-cognitive thinking.
Yeah, it's we'd call it creativity. It's the idea that no, this is not like one particular answer. It's like there's all these possibilities. It's gray, it's black. It's not black and white. It's gray. There's a whole mix, and it's based on the principle. So you ever hear of the map is not the territory? That's actually a deep concept back from general semantics. And general semantics was coined by actually this Polish dude named Alfred Korzybski, who came up with that topic. So that's from my home country. And the map is not the territory. Actually, that comes from him, where we perceive reality in a certain way. But through all the filters of how our mind works and everything, things are not as they seem. So the map is not the territory. It's like the reality that you're seeing, it may not be the reality. So you can never be that sure. You always have to have an inquisitive mind and not say things like it is, but more like it appears to be. Things like that. So the more open you are to new info, the more creative you can be. But all children are born with like 98%, right? Then over time, there's like 2%, and I think 2% is high. How many people do you know that are like genius level, just constantly innovative and all that. It's like 1 in 1,000 probably, right?
One of them.
Right on. But no, I mean rare. It's rare, super rare, right? You cannot scale regeneration of society on that. There's too few people, and that's part of the core motivation why I want to do the Future Builders Academy as an immersion training program, because we don't get that kind of immersive learning in school. I talked about it in my TED Talk that the farther I went, the more useless I felt, and more specialized, less relevant to solving problems which rely on integrated know-how. And for that, you want to do integrated learning. Wikis are a way to, think of wikis as an extension of one's brain. Mind maps are a powerful tool how one person can relate information in their mind. I think the mind works like a mind map where you reinforce links between pieces of knowledge and so forth. It's like neural nets. It's like artificial intelligence stuff. It's based on the human mind. So we talk about learning a lot of things at the same time, like the 20 trades and stuff. You becoming one tradesperson. Learn all of that, and then you see how things interconnect and how commonalities start existing. Once you know enough, you see much more commonality and pattern, so the next thing you can learn is much easier. And that's the principle by which we claim, yeah, we can teach you all of that, and then some, because after some time, the patterns start repeating. And so that's the Future Builders Academy. I would really call it a genius recovery program. I mean, really, because we got to get taught how to get to that creativity and divergent thinking. And it's absolutely learned too. It's both a mindset and a skill set. So I don't believe in this thing of genius. Oh, this guy's born a genius. No, it's you put in the hours. You keep practicing something. You can be there's competencies and there's literacies. Competency means that you're good at something, and therefore you're likely to become literate at it. But if you have a certain competency, but you never practice it, you can completely lose it. So competency does not mean that you actually become good at something. It means that you have that capacity, but you got to work it. You got to work those 10,000 hours for genius, right? You got to do that. In terms of integrated learning, so construction, energy, materials, landscape design, agriculture, manufacturing. I mean, we're integrating that all in within the framework of the house building project, same as with the GVCS, Global Village Construction Set, or the idea of how we can solve housing by integrated skill sets. When we become the designers, builders, and engineers all at the same time, our product becomes way better. And that's how we can, and then I show this in the other presentation, but how once at a certain point, once you start building yourself or generating your own materials, and then creating productive infrastructure within your house, such as producing food or energy or even fuel like solar hydrogen down the road, or your garage microfactory, then your house is a source of wealth, not a sink of a mortgage. So product ecologies is what we talk about all the time. So EPCOT, it stands for the Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. It did not happen. It turned into an amusement park. So that's what that was. But we're really talking about EPCOTs as experimental prototype communities of tomorrow for real, by building an integrated economy and diverse skill sets that allow us to happen, because that kind of prosperity or a better future does require discipline and a lot of knowledge and skill set to make it happen. But now we can build upon all that wealth of knowledge from former generations, and now AI is supercharging our ability to solve problems and things like that. Things are good if you can take it from a positive viewpoint. So The Art of Possibility, there's a great book by this name called The Art of Possibility, which teaches about a lot of these principles that allow you to think abundantly. So Google the book called Art of Possibility. So there's 12 principles described in there. They're all worth noting. Realizing that everything is invented. It's all made up. I mean, we created all this. We created the economy. We created the government, legal frameworks, and technologies, and all this around us. And just as well, we can recreate it to anything we want. And that gives you a lot of thinking of possibility. Yeah, we can do all of that, including making semiconductors and microchips that are more benign or something. Move from scarcity to abundance. I like that one. We like that one here. Move from a mindset of fear to one that there's enough for everybody based on the first principles that there is 10,000 times more power that comes from the sun than we use today. That's a figure to take seriously. Be a contribution. Lead from any position. Lighten up. So there's a little humor there. See the way things are. Getting accurate mental models of reality. Flow with passion. Be the chessboard. Don't be played. Create the new rules for the game, right? Create possibility frameworks. Focus on we. That's a big one. Once you start thinking about we're all in it together, then I think a lot of possibility opens up. I do recommend the book. Now, multiple intelligences. So look on the wiki. Intelligences. There might be like moral intelligence, social. Hey, sorry. Practice. So. Oh my God. Ah, come on, Mark. Okay, emotional intelligence, but there's like hundreds, people. There you can break down all these skills. Like somebody might be like they're a comedian, or they're an actor, they're a fabricator, or a superstar, or this or that. All that stuff is learned. All these things are intelligences. Oh, where's my thing? Okay, the presentation, going back to it. All those things, the positive news about that is those things are learned. Intelligences are developed. Intelligences are competencies that you develop to fruition. So if you decide today, I want to be something different or change or be a genius at something, all you need to do is put in that 10,000 hours of focus. But think about it, in your life you've got multiple 10,000 year cycles. 10,000 is 5 years. If you focus on something for 5 years, you're going to become a genius at it. That's how it works. It's like you just got to put in the time. Michael Jordan was not created a superstar. He had to practice. Like I think every super performer who's honest will tell you that no, they're not born with it. They practice. It's you definitely have to put in the effort to do that. And look at this. Blue is hyperlinked. So let's go to the wiki on that. What all kind of intelligences do exist? I mean, crazy stuff. So creative and innovative intelligence is like divergent thinking, idea synthesis, improvisational capacity, hypothetical reasoning, inventive adaptability, symbolic imagination, constraint creativity, human intelligence. This is actually, I mean, this is like ChatGPT stuff, but there are so many of these that when I started looking, like I was thinking, okay, intelligence is, yeah, there's definitely like emotional intelligence. I got into moral intelligence as a principles that lead to a righteous life, or principles that take care of others and fill the world with love and prosperity. But then you start Googling, well, what about like maybe some other positive things like like kinesthetic intelligence or the ability to empathize or other things. There's many types. There's creative ones, there's technical and practical problem-solving intelligences, like diagnostic intelligence. How you get to the bottom of a problem, how do you problem solve? Logical, analytical, mathematical, like logical reasoning, abstraction capacity, pattern detection, spatial, visual, and design. So this is the game, like the sports game of you go through your mind, in your mind, exactly how something is built, so you're a performer when you do that. If you can think in 3D and actually go through that like in a real build. I developed a lot of that because I just imagine, okay, how a thing looks in 3D, and then CAD skills help you develop that, drawing skills help you develop that because you start thinking visually and so forth. So, but this is all developed once again, you practice it until you get really good. Aesthetic judgment, like Katerina taught me a little bit of that. I mean, Katerina designs aesthetics, but to me, like, that would be like something completely foreign 10 years ago. But right now, as we're trying to sell a house, we actually have to develop real aesthetic intelligence because people are very sensitive to aesthetics, right? So, but all these things are once again, developed. Linguistic and communication, like verbal fluency or listening intelligence, that you can actually hear what somebody else is saying. Physical, like fine motor intelligence. Tool handling intelligence, like when you see a tool, you just understand it and you can start using it without anybody telling you how to do it, because you understand tool patterns, things like that. Social and interpersonal, conflict de-escalation, empathic attachment, leadership presence, network intelligence, that you can create social networks, all kinds, moral, environmental, intrapersonal, you name it. So if you're aware of these things, then you can actually say, okay, I can practice these things. If you have someone you admire, you have some skill that you admire, you can say, okay, I'm going to learn it. That's a good thing. So let's move on here. Likewise, there's various literacies. So literacies, and you can actually encourage you, if you want to go nuts on this, test yourself right now. There's a list of these 100. How good are you at each? Like, do you have moral intelligence? Do you have like emotional intelligence or logical capacity, things like that? Just go through it, just to get a scope of what all kinds of skills exist, which will already expand your mind to new possibility. And multiple literacies, like we talk a lot about collaborative literacy, a particular ability to understand and work with a lot of people for a common goal. That's what the Global Village Construction Set all is about. But there's many of these. So integrated learning, we talk about multifaceted approach to learning. And what are some of those tools? I would say you have to start with the idea that genius is the natural human condition. And that would change your mind, perhaps, how you look at society. But if we accept that experiment that was done, that 98% of children are divergent thinkers or so-called creative geniuses, then our quest should be to reclaim that for ourselves and for the world. So what are some of the tools we can use? General semantics, if you haven't heard the concept, read about it. It's the map is not the territory, that perception may not always be like it is, and the concept of time binding, the idea that we truly build upon knowledge. For us, we extend that concept to what we call economic time binding. So what's that? It's the idea that if we build an open source enterprise, people can replicate it, such as the house. We are engaging in economic time binding, making it super easy, documenting it for somebody else to create wealth. Where else does that happen? Not a lot. That's why we think it's so important. It's such a missing thing in society, and encourage everybody to get involved in that. The world of open source hardware certainly is tiny. It's, for practical purposes, non-existent. That's the idea. So imagine if you have all the documentation, including enterprise facilitation, like here what we can do is, one, provide the know-how, but two, provide the infrastructure in which you could learn, or physical infrastructure, such as the machines or equipment. Like, say you want to do a startup, we can provide resources, infrastructures, machines, tools that can help you do that. So at the end, what if we can create zero capital enterprise startup through open sector enterprises that focus on getting other people into business? That's our goal. Our goal is to create all this know-how so that anybody else can do it, and we transition from scarcity to abundance. That benefits me a lot. That benefits everybody a lot. It's a selfish thing because I really care about myself. I want to have a good life, but for that I need to help anybody else, because if you don't, the pitchforks are coming, right? So it's just common sense. Neurogenesis, be aware of that brain cells continue to be born. Seminal work in 1998 has shown that new neurons are being created. So until 1998, we thought that you become brain dead pretty much after childhood. which is not a good mental model to hold.
What would that mean? That you would stop gaining higher IQ?
No,
Yeah.
that your neurons start dying as you age.
Well,
Yeah,
your
that
IQ
none-
would
It
be
doesn't
shrinking.
necessarily have to do with IQ. It has to do with complexity of thinking. So if you look into like developmental psychology, a lot of people don't develop past the developmental complexity of like a 14 or 15-year-old. So if you ask them why is this thing bad, they go, oh, because it's bad. You know, it's an either or scenario rather than
So you
both
never
and.
develop a deeper understanding of the world.
Yeah, you can look at it that way.
Yeah. The more neurons you have, the more complexity you can entertain. And that's how we think about the construction set approach. Like there's this diverse tool set that you can pick from, and then you can create just about anything. You can create more complexity from that if you're mixing and building upon modular parts. So another tool to be aware of, mind maps. Has anyone heard of Tony Buzan? Mind maps. So visual thinking, where you diagram information in form of diagrams, and I mean, just look at some examples. When you're studying something, don't just like write things. Write bubbles and information in a graphical way, which helps you memorize it in a much better way. I do this all the time, kind of like bubbles where you explode. Like even like the diagrams we do. It's like one diagram that has like 100 different or whatever, a lot of different descriptions around it. It's kind of a mind map of ideas that helps you ground with a visual, diagram. Like an exploded part diagram is kind of a mind map too. But these things, that's how the mind thinks. We've got logical intelligence, we've got visual intelligence. So this builds upon one of the numerous intelligences that we have. The more intelligences you could use, the more creative and divergent you can be. So use those mind maps and take notes, not linear, just text, but start getting pictorial, and it will help you capture more information more rapidly. Beyond mind maps, what do we got? Speed reading. So who thinks that speed reading is about reading things faster?
It's understanding them.
No, it's about more like you're not reading things faster, you're actually absorbing faster, but by how you're reading. So various techniques exist. Like for example, you would read, if you're reading a book to assess whether you want to read it, like read the first sentence of each chapter. Maybe start with the table of contents. Read non-linear. Just, for example, if you want to get through a book real fast, just read the first sentence in a paragraph. That's another way. But basically, getting the sense of what's inside a book to make you know whether it's worth reading or how much time you want to spend. So it's not about reading the book from cover to cover. It's more about coming back to it to reinforce it, to build upon the hooks that you already built. So it's about how you pick up a book and read it. It's not that you can read like super fast. It's that you're very strategic on how you read. But there's a lot of concepts in there that I'm not going to get into too much on that because you have to really practice it. But one good technique is, if you've got a book and you want to understand what it's about, start by perhaps and you got to read you're assigned, you got to read everything. Don't read the whole book. Just read maybe the first sentence of each paragraph, or maybe the first sentence or paragraph of each chapter, or the first chapter of the whole book. Like things like that, where you get a sense for the whole thing as opposed to just linear, you go from cover to cover. Try reading a book backwards. Start on the last page. Like, in theory, the last page, in a well-organized book, I would say that the first sentence of any paragraph summarizes the whole paragraph. The first paragraph of each chapter summarizes the whole chapter. The first chapter should summarize the whole book. That would be, to me, like a logical way to read it. So maybe if you maybe read the last chapter, which is supposed to be the conclusion, read the conclusion and see if that actually is a conclusion you want to hear more about. Then maybe just drop the book altogether. Okay, so speed reading, learn about it. Memory. So there's many techniques for memory expansion. I ran into Buzan, this was probably 1980 or something. He was one of those first people that did mind maps and things like that. But he has a book on memory, on speed reading, and mind maps. But you can find various kinds of books on it. it's always interesting because now you're talking about not just learning, but learning how to learn. So that's a meta skill. These are definite worthwhile investments because it helps you absorb everything else that you do in your life, which is a lot about cognitive activity. You have to think with your mind, and also it will help you shut your mind down. Like actually, meditation is where the part where you actually shut your mind down to get through all the noise that's happening. So focus is actually not that you're like zooming into something, is that you're eliminating all the noise. So all the kinds of skills from memory to speed reading to mind mapping to meditation or flow, state of flow, worth investing time into because they help with your entire life. Now team learning, like also don't forget about learning as groups. So this is where collaboration comes in. And this is where the importance of open information comes in, because at that point, if you're opening up your information, then you're actually enabling collaborative learning with others. Like here in this environment, I learn a lot from feedback from other people. We're pretty much working as a team. We're kind of combining a lot of different minds together, and it's definitely a worthwhile way. The whole thing, including, the whole approach of allowing team learning to happen and means to record that in some kind of effective way.
What's the maps on there?
Those are some link. I don't know what they are. This is a representation that shows different nodes communicating with one another. I don't know.
Okay.
But team learning can be global, right? If everybody opens their information, people share best practices. That's super powerful. I'll just give the example of the barber stuff, right? Like we got exposed to Aurelio, right? So I asked him, hey, document on a wiki. What tools do you use? What are your basic techniques so we can actually benefit from that? I mean, it's cool because he's got all of that. To me, that's one of these integrated learning situations where, okay, he's got all these tools, he's got these skill sets, and really quickly you can pick up on it. So that's an example of global learning, just enabling decent information from various people to be accessible, to record it, use wikis and other tools. All right, team learning. Well, we do swarm builds to do team learning, and we also, if you've got super hairy problems, the best way to go about it, in my view, is you break it down into very small parts. I talked about this quite a bit, but modular breakdown accelerates development. So if you're faced with a huge problem that you want to solve, break it down into tiny parts and document it. And on the wiki, use a tool like a wiki or a notebook or a journal to retain more and keep processing, because learning works by the idea that you reinforce something. You have a little hook in memory that you can then strengthen by thinking about it or going back to it. What is that called? It's not called reinforcement learning. It's like the hook theory of learning, where if you get exposed to something, you can reinforce those actual neuron pathways that make you think that way by going back to it, and what is it? That's more like conditioned reflexes and things. But it's the idea that you don't learn by just going like into it and just going linearly and spending a lot of time through it, but getting exposed to it again and again, and hence the openness of information or the diversity of information really helps you, because you might stumble upon something that is a gold mine that you never thought existed because you just don't have the velocity or exposure to all these different things. And I'll wrap up with how to use the wiki in practice. So, on the wiki is the main tool that we use to develop the 50 Global Village Construction Set machines. So, first thing is you can get an account, you can start editing, you can make meaningful contributions, and you'll be surprised sometimes that, okay, you seed some article and then others contribute to it. If it's really good information, you're going to attract potentially some other crazy people that will contribute to that good information. So it can be generative, it can be like self-building, it can be a powerful tool that sometimes you'd be surprised that, I would do an article and, a year later it's like got developed into like this big thing and stuff like that. Just because you seeded that and you seeded some ideas, and then people kept developing. So it's collaborative intelligence at work. And then AI, of course, can, if you're just dumping a bunch of information onto a wiki, you've got a wiki as your means to access or process information, then, I mean, AI tools can then go in there and parse it and help you. You know, you can parse, you can say, feed this wiki, which seems like a whole mess, but if you feed it to an AI that can say, okay, now tell me, based on all the information on the induction furnace or some topic on this wiki, tell me how to design one. Because there might be like all these disconnected articles that are there, but as long as they're in the database, they can be then processed later into more meaningful knowledge through the principle of time binding. It exists, it's been recorded, and therefore it can be built upon in the future. So the critical thing is to be able to index a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff on the wiki, but for everything, if you want to get involved and you say you got some crazy project you want to develop and you want to continue development, there's a template. I'll just show you one thing, but templates are very powerful. You can just, with a simple word, you can start a template. So say you want to do your own house version, and you want to actually develop that and document the steps that you've done. What do you do? So maybe I'll leave it with that. What do you do there? So there's a template called development, and it seeds all those development steps that we go through, those 20 different development steps. So I'll show you how to do that. So the template is actually called Dev Plus, but this is the actual template. It's a template. You can invoke it, and then you can feed it your own project, such as Joe's new house version, and it will seed all of that. So Joe's building his new house for somebody. So I'm gonna simply start a page. I'm not logged in, so you gotta log in. You just get an account. Not gonna save that now because I'll get hacked. Okay, so just start a page like Joe's new house. T. Joe's new house. Right? So you start a new page. There's nothing there, but in one line, one little word, you can actually see that whole thing that I showed you just there. So you would do create, and then you just invoke a template called Dev Plus. So all it is double bracket. That means it's a template, and then you give it the template you want to use. So it's called Dev Plus for development template, and then you feed it. So the pipe symbol, which is the vertical slash, Joe's new house. Okay.
T-Jews, right?
Yeah. So just to show that, and then you save that, and then one line gets you all this. So now you got that. So it says Joe's new house 3D CAD, Joe's new house BOM, Joe's new house build instructions, all of that. So things like that. It's powerful. Use that on Wiki. Feel free to do that. If you're going to build a replica of this house or any other version, we want to see it. Just put it up there.
So
Robbie?
I was working on the FreeCAD cut list for
Yeah.
the wall modules.
Yeah.
And I put that up there, but like say someone else did something and it wasn't working when I tried to use it, but say it was working and I wanted to know that even existed, would it be helpful to have like a mind map of the wiki
Absolutely.
kind of situation? So there's like categories. So,
Yeah.
FreeCAD would fall under the seat house or something like
Yeah.
that.
Anyone can do that, and the answer is absolutely yes. There's a ton of stuff on a wiki. You can put any kind of index on top of it to make it helpful for you. Just start new pages like with the super index for this wiki and start doing that.
Like no one's gonna know it exists. That's the problem. So if I don't reach out in some other format, no one's gonna know that I made this master, index.
Yeah, but see the way the wiki works, like for example, I might, one time I'd be like, because I like indexes, and I would search index in there, or I would go recent wiki changes, which
Okay.
I sometimes do. I do that all the time, in fact. So, okay, we see who all contribute. So I see, whoa, an index? I like indexes. So Felix, did his log here and stuff like that. But I would look at that and say, holy cow, that's pretty good. I might contact you, or some other person might see it like down a year from now. Someone looks for, like, why is this wiki not indexed or whatever? They're searching for an index, and they'll find your thing. And if it's good, it's just going to start rising up. It's it's kind of this crowd intelligence thing where if something is good, it can rise up. There's not a lot of noise here because only the people who are trying to contribute meaningful things are involved in a wiki. So there's a good chance that will rise to prominence and so forth. But yeah, I mean, there is that issue of, well, how does anybody know?
Is this the only method of seeing new stuff that's posted, or like, you know what I mean?
You will. Recent wiki changes is like you just see new contributions. There's other interesting pages like special pages. So if anyone goes on the wiki, can you see special pages? Because there's a whole bunch of them, like active users lists. Okay, so these are the people that are actively contributing. That's a useful feature. I mean, recent changes, absolutely. But even in if you go to, say you're doing your log, or like you go to MJ log, you look at the version history. So for MJ, I'll go MJ, so that's my shortcut. And what I do there, like I redirected, so the MJ page, and this is another useful feature, it says, if you edit that, it says, this is the syntax for redirecting to Marcin log. So you're using that as a shortcut. So you can say whatever, like 3 letters, like, so for example, you saw me do like sh7. I have a redirect to seed eco home 7. So you can index things in an effective way that way. But say you go to Marcin log, right? Look at the version view history. You'll see like when the last changes have been made, and I have this all the time. So you can track it this way. Just get yourself an AI engine to give me all the new changes and what's going on this wiki. Create a page like that for, okay, here's the index of all the activity happening on this wiki. So add all that indexical meta knowledge to the wiki. You can do that. And that's how it works. So if you have this mindset, okay, this is collaborative, it may not be organized, but there's ways that you can get involved in it. A lot of times I get emails, your wiki sucks, just fix it. And it's like, no, you fix it. It's like, you can do it. I can do it as well as you. They're looking at me as the master of that wiki. No, it's a public venue, and I edit it all the time. But it's like, you guys, you got to understand that concept. This is a public venue that's open for anybody to contribute to.
How often do you get those emails?
Like once a week or month. Like, this really sucks. Like, I can't find anything. But then there's also some people like, wow, this is a treasure. And those people are, I can tell you, divergent thinkers, because it's a mess. And if you can say that there's treasure on there, then you are...
Because you have to hunt for it.
There you go. So that's how it works.
Is it always the same person, or just different?
No. Hundreds of different people. They think like, they don't understand like really what a wiki is, and they think like you're the master of it, and I'm like super responsible for it. I am a definite stakeholder in it. It's got a wealth of information in there, but everyone's got access to increase meaning there, and that's why I'm saying like a tool like a wiki, it's a public intelligence tool that people want to be aware of. And even just with our meager wiki, we've got, I mean, you can say that all the information that regarding the seed eco home work there, it's worth billions. If people actually took that knowledge to build homes effectively, it can be redeemed to a lot of value. So that wiki in itself it's already quite valuable just with a seed eco home product release. And then imagine you do that for every single thing. Now you've got the ultimate skid steer design that you can digitally fabricate on your CNC torch table and other things, all these different products for the open source everything store. That becomes an absolute goldmine of wealth. And everybody can benefit and everybody can contribute. So that's how it works. Go ahead.
How does one make a template?
Why, of course, through the template instructions page. Google that. You have to Google it. We might have some in a search box. You can search templates, go to Wikipedia. We're using MediaWiki, the same wiki that powers Wikipedia. It's called MediaWiki. It's run by the MediaWiki Foundation. So there's all kinds of wikis. We like this one. You can add semantic MediaWiki extensions to it. So you can. There's AI now coming in. Whatever AI is will be able to do anything. Yeah. Powerful tool. Go ahead.
This is a little bit off topic, but I am kind of interested in how do you uproot falsehoods on the wiki, and how do you stop people from deleting or correcting anything that they would just disagree with, or just destroying stuff just for fun?
For the latter, it's like there's crowd intelligence. If somebody erases it, the next person might just restore it. If there are sensitive pages, like for example organizational information or like the main page, I just lock it down. Say editable only by managers, by admins. So if there's any sensitive page that is, for example, whatever it is, it's our corporate information. Well, somebody shouldn't really be editing that if they don't know anything about open source ecology, so we lock that down, right? So there's a few sensitive pages. By far, the majority is editable. Sometimes people will just go back and have these wars where things are restored and then trashed and restored. But if there's people who are actively trashing something, I just block them immediately. Like if they're doing vandalism, yeah, you just block them. And there's a CAPTCHA so that most of the people, like, we're not getting too much spam or anything like that. The wiki is pretty secure. Does that answer it, or there's another question? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that answers.
Okay. Yep. Ideally, you would, and then this is the cool thing about the wiki is you can embed any kind of content in there, from videos to anything else, or any other apps that you want to your FreeCAD files. You can embed 3D manipulable images and so forth. So it's a nice tool. It's basically a general tool where you can put anything in there, and you can also code it too. So you can add extensions. It's open source naturally, so it won't disappear. Yeah, for the long term.
We were talking earlier about psychology a little bit. Should the goal be for everybody to be a genius? Because I would almost argue that wouldn't necessarily solve anything.
Well, genius as in a person who's got creative problem-solving ability at an extreme level. I mean, I think that's pretty cool. That doesn't mean that a genius wouldn't like clean toilets like Gandhi or whatever.
The funny part about genius is it's generally low latent inhibition with high executive functioning, if you want to use like the psychological terms, and which is basically just low latent inhibition is an inability to ignore irrelevant stimuli, so basically like the golden retriever, and very easily distracted, but then you're able to draw connections that other people can't.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very, very hard to get somebody who can also pair that with high executive functioning. So that's why you get the scattered genius type that, you know, can see numbers floating in the air but can't wipe his own ass or brush his teeth. We don't starve.
Right, exactly. So in that sense,
we don't starve. If we have a world of geniuses,
oh yeah.
everybody be dead.
No, but I'm not talking about geniuses. I'm talking about integrated genius. So that's a difference. Genius might be this super high performance in one thing, but if it's not integrated with a lot of different diverse areas, that could be damaging, right? So yeah, no, I get that point. So you have to have a wide scope. If it's like the sense I use it in is an integrated genius sense, and I would include that moral intelligence has to be part of that genius. So you would have high executive capacity, but also sound direction and moral intelligence that drives you to a good end for the world, as opposed to like you're out in a cloud, not really relating to the rest of the world or its imminent problems. You're just doing some crazy shit. That's great, but it doesn't necessarily solve human problems. It might be destructive too, right? So yeah, there's any powerful tool has got to be.
It's interesting too, because like you have our 9-year-olds very much like this, and my wife has some other kids in her school where these kids that are potential geniuses are also special needs in their own way. Because like it's like
Right.
atomic energy. If you can harness it and keep it safe, it will power a whole city. But everything else is Chernobyl. And to try to deal and manage those kids on a daily basis, you have to help them build extremely rigid structures, and that's part of what boxes them in. Because the process of going from an egoless child to a functioning adult, you basically have to develop a way to cut out irrelevant stimuli. Otherwise, you're just constantly swept. That's why babies wake up for like 2 seconds and then cash back out, because they just have unfiltered stimulus coming at them. So we develop the ego to box that out, but obviously it's a double-edged sword, because then you lose your creativity and childlike wonder in order to operate at a high level in the world where you can pay taxes and not crash your car and all these other intricate things that we have to do.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, to reinforce, it's the integrated, like the diverse, multiple genius, integrated thing. That's what we're after more than just that standard definition of genius. Yeah, I think the word genius itself has in my view, the fact like what you're expressing, that you're associating with dysfunctional people. It's true. Like a lot of geniuses might be dysfunctional, but that's not what I'm calling out for, though. It has to be an integrated genius. So multiple areas, not just.
Read Capitalism and Schizophrenia by Deleuze and Guattari?
No.
Because what we were talking about earlier, like this branch out, they talk about rhizomatic thinking versus arborescence thinking. So we have hierarchical thinking, which is like the way that we read. You have to read it in line. And then you have rhizomatic thinking, like when you look at a picture, you can draw multiple connections. There's some really interesting literature there if you ever want to read it. It's like a 2-part book. It's hard to digest, but there's a simpler version called Unflattening, where you can get basically the entire consensus of these 2 long, boring books in a much simpler, easier to read book.
Publish it on the wiki. And then, everybody will have access to it. Andrew.
Do you think the issue is that kids are inherently geniuses, and then we indoctrinate them and step all over them and force that out of them? Or do you think the issue is more that we don't sufficiently develop adult intellect? It's like we're just going through a natural progression, and we just, for whatever reason, our society doesn't tend to develop that terribly far.
I think everything about society tends to degrade that natural genius in the name of like business as usual. I would say a lot of the power structure has been designed that how to describe it? It's to, in a negative, if I say it in a negative way, it's like to suppress people's power. I mean, at any time a person has that choice, but there is definite, very strong forces that try to knock that out of you very hard. From your parents to your school to overall civilization at large. Like, if you've got an outstanding, meaning some innovation idea. I mean, the first thing. I mean, you're gonna everyone's gonna try to drag you down. So there's a lot of force that does keep it down. It's built into the systems, but it's just how we design it. Just like with the principle of it's all made up. That's how the world evolved. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the world evolved in this scarcity mindset of fight or flight, right? So a lot of that is about, okay, well, I can't really empower other people because I'm gonna get crushed. That kind of thinking, the scarcity mindset, there's not enough for everybody. That's just super pervasive. So in this project and in the prosperity of the world, I say that the missing link is that unleashing from that scarcity thought pattern, which is, that's like just about anything in society, is reinforcing that scarcity mindset, from the patent system to the way the government works and everything else. It's like, if you can look at it objectively, it's like, man, this is so pathetic. Because I mean, think about it. So I noticed this. Okay, so I come from Poland. I'm like, okay, I went into a supermarket first, and there was like 100 different brands of each food, where the shelves in Poland were empty, and I'm like, wait a minute, what happened? Like, how come it's so different here than there? It must be some kind of a design feature that I don't get. But that prosperity is accessible anywhere, and the fact that some countries prosper, some not, that there's war and poverty pervasive, and most people still aren't taken care of these days. It's a crazy thing. So it's got to be something in the air. It's some systematic feature, and it's all around us. There's that you might call it oppression or whatever. So if we, the goal of humanity, I would say, is to help everybody become absolutely free and empowered. I mean, that's the thing. But unfortunately, most structures and institutions aren't set up to do that right now. They're failing badly, right? So that's where we're at. But we can improve it because it's all made up. There you go. Aiden?
I just want to touch on Austin's point. So, in Genesis, God creates the world with the waters below and the waters above. The waters below are like chaos. It's like kind of what you described with the baby who's creative, but it's just chaos and you can't handle it. The waters above are built atop the structure of reality. So it's like you build the temple, you build a structure, like Austin's point, like you go into that structure. But then after you have the structure, you open up into the waters above, like where the creative insight comes from. But you need that structured temple. And it seems like a lot of what we've gotten is, instead of a temple, we've gotten a prison. But we do need like the structure, and we don't want to just like abandon the structure and go down to the chaotic waters.
Yeah. I mean, you do need some structures, infrastructures and structures in society, because a lot of people will just freak out with an absence of it, right? So, but yeah, all of society should be just redesigned in a nutshell. And it's up to us to do it, of course. Yep.
Why do you think it is that Poland was failing? Do you think it was their government or their people
Well-
weren't?
Well, at that time, we were surrounded by three powerful neighbors, and Russia took 50% of our wealth, and we were in a Second World War where we got completely crushed. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Like 50% of what?
Yeah, everything of all the economic, 50% of the economic output of Poland went to Russia. They're a bunch of thieves. So it was pretty oppressive. I mean, it's, you know, that's it's not that like Polish people are dumb. Like there's some big leaders like Korzybski or other people. Poland does have its intellectuals and all that, so we weren't bad. In fact, during the Second World War, we were like in the interwar period, we were looking like a Western, fully developed country, and it got all crushed by the Iron Curtain at that point. And it's just, okay, there's a system that comes in, these are the rules, and it was just pathetic at demotivating people from any kind of productivity, because whether you worked or not, you got paid. So, yeah, it was just a system that's just so damaging to humanity. And then in this country, it's like, wow, okay, you got prosperity, but then a lot of people are not happy either. So there's some missing points, a lot of missing points in this country where you've got a lot of social deprivation still, and you got the remnants of slavery or past oppression that still exist just a little bit. But I think in general things are improving way in all these places. Like Poland right now is pretty, I mean, it's growing insanely right now. Yeah, so that's good. And then with open source, any country can imagine open source economic know-how that's, you know, any country in the world can gain modern economic status overnight. I mean, that's a possibility. Just like Japan did it, or whoever, you know, like say Poland after the fall of the Berlin Wall and things like that. That can happen overnight anywhere. But it's the systems that are in place that may be preventing that from happening. Like imagine like, you know, Africa. Everyone talks about the poverty in Africa. It's like, that can change overnight, but it just means that you put in a different infrastructure. You can't continue what's happening. Or here, overnight, we fix whatever, poverty, or housing, or food production, or community. That's all doable, but it's embodied in the people that live in it, right? People are now living in that and carrying that forward. So it's that, you know, the freeing of the mind, you know, you gotta crack through that. Your ability to get back to the index of possibilities and abundance and divergent thinking, which is knocked out of us, like in school by the time we're 18 or whatever, adults, that creativity is knocked out. So I would say, like, for one, the school system is definitely failing miserably in that sense. I mean, and like, what about me? Like, for example, in my schooling, yeah, I mean, by the time the PhD program, man, I was fed up with it. I was gonna quit. But my daddy said, no, you got to finish. You got to get your papers. So I did, but I almost got kicked out a couple of times because I spent more time on other stuff than doing my PhD. So, And Princeton, hated it. Holy cow, man. So I went to Princeton undergrad. That place sucks. I mean, so what I was expecting is a place with people who are the future change makers and progressives of the world. Instead, I found the power structure of the world. And those ideals were not, the ideals I had were not there. And I was really disappointed. I got pretty depressed my first year and stuff. And then I kind of pulled out of that, but it was pretty depressing. So I never went back there since. I probably should go to a reunion sometime. but I got abused there, so I got traumatized, so never went back. That's my story about that. Yeah. So yeah, okay. So let's quit it there. So creativity and divergent thinking.
Read it.
Oh man, I already chewed it up.
Why?
Because I got asked too many questions. I was disfocused.
You're supposed to read it.
And what did it say?
I have no clue.
I'm sorry. My apologies. Yeah.
It's in your right sleeve.
But that's only a little piece of it, and the rest of it is here, unfortunately. Because I was.
No, you're right. You're the right.
No, that was that little piece. Sorry about that. But all right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your attention.
It said your positive attitude will bring about abundance.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's guaranteed. It will contribute to that.
Marcin, have you?
See, it's contributing. We don't even need to hear it because we know it. It's already there.
It is there. I saw your spark.
Okay.
Pet the puppy yet, Marcin?
Oh, I petted that puppy. That puppy is sweet.